Yep, hash collision is something that most people don't realize when they're writing PHP scripts. So you will be creating an API and forget to verify the data coming in first. So, does anybody know, first of all, what a hash complexity attack is? I know you would. Alright, so the idea behind a hash complexity attack is, I'll just go over here, so what it is. So a hash collision attack is you'll have a load of variables hitting your server. So say a login form, you'll have your username and your password coming in, and then an attacker will start to inject some code into your request. Now PHP by default will protect you against this by limiting the number of input variables you can have. So they introduce in the configuration max input variables, or max input vars, and they set it to 1,000. The reason it's 1,000 is because it will not impact your web server. It will not take your web server down. However, if that wasn't there, or you decide to be smart and increase this number, your CPU is going to have a very bad day. So let's move on. So the input vars, it covers all your superglobals. It also covers PHP functions that handles HTTP input and output. But JSON decode is not covered by this. So if you are taking a wall request body and then you're popping it through JSON decode, poor you. Because what's going to happen is, if someone sends up a request body and they inject a load of variables into that request body, they will take down your entire web server, and they can do it in less than 1 megabyte of file. And just to make it even worse to you, when I say take down your web server, we're talking up to 90 minutes. And you're thinking, well, I've got an auto-scaling group, it's on Amazon, another web server to kick in, so what they do is they send in another request. And they'll do it for each CPU as well, to the point where your entire stack's ran out and they've just DDoS your entire website. And they can take out your entire website probably in less than 100 requests, which most firewalls would completely ignore, because after all, web application firewalls are looking for DDoS are looking for millions of requests, not 100. So what can PHP do to change this? Well, they can change the algorithm they're using to compute the hashes. Now, let me explain to you what the hash is. So when you're looking at an array in PHP, what happens is that for every key, it will generate a small hash, a numerical hash of that key to say, well, this is what the key name is, and then it will check the value of that, assigned to that key. But when you have multiple key names that all result in the same hash, the CPU goes into overdrive, because then what happens is it's trying to look through that hash and says, well, hang on a minute, I've got 50 keys and they all result in the same hash. I'm going to pop another one down the bottom, and then you get to 52, and it just keeps going and going and going until your web server CPU just goes, I've had enough, that's it, I've hit 100%, I can't process anymore, and it just gets slower and slower. So, demo time. So I have two JSON files. One is a normal request, and I'm just going to pop name in here, and we're going to call it JSON because everybody hates JSON. And then I'm going to show you what an attack will look like. That's all it is. Now, this attack is not a large one, it's only for demo purposes, and I don't particularly want to crash my entire CPU. But as you can see, no. Trust me, it takes a while just to get this JSON string to go. Unfortunately though, there are Python scripts in circulation at the moment that will generate around about 50,000 JSON strings ready to attack any web server, and then they'll kindly then send that HTTP request to your server and take you completely down. How many people here use Laravel? Hands up. Yep. Laravel doesn't protect you. So And just to make it a little bit easier, how many people know that JSON's automatically decoded in Laravel? Yep, which means that just to be helpful, even on a login form, they will send up a JSON request with a username and password, which will log them in eventually, but also take your whole web server down. And just to be helpful, Laravel will automatically put that through JSON decode, because after all, it wants to be nice to you. Just in case anybody thinks I'm safe because I don't use Laravel, other frameworks do it too, because they also want to be nice to you. Now, this laptop has PHP 7.2, which means it has all the latest security patches on here as well for PHP, because I always keep up to date. And now we're going to see what actually happens. Now, bear in mind, this is only a small file. So what we're going to do first is we're going to do the unprotected. And this will tell you, as a benchmark, clean code, how long it takes for this particular file to execute on this machine. And I have a very slow laptop, so please forgive it. And I actually do have another script as well, which I will share with everybody shortly, just as a benchmark. And we have a protected one as well. And that contains a small PHP function that will prevent a JSON collision attack from happening. So now let's attack this, shall we? There we go. So I've just popped in a very, very small JSON body, and you can see just by that small file that it took a considerable amount, much more time to, just process that file. Yes?
So can you read out the numbers? Because at the back it's hard to...
Okay, so the unprotected, the base number is 0.0055 seconds. Then with the protected, it is 0.0015. And with the attack going in on the unprotected file, it's 0.22. And now what we're going to do is let's attack the protected. And there we go. So it's taken the JSON body and said, hang on a minute, there's something wrong with this. I'm going to throw out as a rejected, because it just throws a standard exception. Just to show you, there is no trickery in this. I am not playing any games. That's all I'm doing. So this is a normal request. This is the unprotected. Attacking the unprotected script. This is a function I'll show that in a moment, but this is the same thing again, but it's within the try catch. And I don't really need to show you the attack protected because it's the same code again, but there we go. All I'm doing is I'm just calling attack JSON. And the function, which there's always going to be better ways of doing this, and I'm up for suggestions, but people say never use preg match on a in a function because it's slow. But I think you'll agree that using this just to check the key names and then whitelist the values that you're expecting is better than to have your whole server taken down. Any questions? Any suggestions? I'm sure you've got one. No? Okay, I think we're done.